Mr. Ray Davies. Ray, it's a great privilege for us to have you here. I know you're spending quite a lot of time on the South Bank over the next couple of weeks, including doing here on Saturday with Julian Temple, filmmaker, who you're talking about the relationship of cinema to your music and your career, and I think you've chosen a great film. I think it was a very significant film. But take us back to the point at which you first discovered Zed. What were you doing? How did you discover it?
I went through a lot of thinking about which one to have as a Screen Epiphany. I wanted Alexander Nevsky for its pantomime score by Prokofiev, and very humorous music. I wanted 400 Blows, but all these are seen quite frequently. And it occurred to me, when I first saw Zed, it was probably the late 60s, at the Curzon Theatre in Mayfair. And it resonated with me because it was the first conspiracy film. You know, I grew up, I'm not sure how old you are, but I grew up through the Kennedy years and the Kennedy assassination, and Martin Luther King and Bobby Kennedy getting killed. And it was just one camera, and you're lucky if you saw it, you know. But nowadays, if you see anything happens in the world, you've got 15 angles, everybody's got a zap cam or whatever. You can see everything. And when Zed came out, it was the first real film that I'd seen that took the conspiracy theory one step further. And it's loosely based on a politician, or more than loosely based on a politician who was imprisoned and tortured by the generals in Greece. So that resonated to me on many levels. And of course, the Grosvenor Square riots and the Paris riots in 1968, police brutality in Chicago, when Mayor Daley set the police on the rioters, with anti-Vietnam rioters. And Zed looked at all these different possibilities and explored that avenue, and I hadn't really seen that in a film at that time.
I mean, one of the things that you're sort of hinting at is the way in which political films at that moment were able to tell a story about a part of the world that today we're kind of used to social media, in a sense, highlighting some of those things.
You know, we take it for granted. We're in a way we're anaesthetised to violence and suffering on television. We see so much of it. You know, what do we need next to be shocked by? But when Zed came out, you know, conspiracy theories, the Warren Commission on Kennedy was a complete farce, and at the time Zed was out, people still thought it was a single bullet theory. So it was for people like me who were conspiracy theorists. It was really an eye-opener.
I mean, one of the most interesting things about the film is that it's very explicit that this is a true story about, or an attempt to tell a true story about real recent events, which is often very hard in certain ways for cinema to do. I mean, it opens with the statement, which is any resemblance to real events to persons living or dead is not accidental, it's deliberate.
Absolutely.
So it's setting out right at the beginning what its mission is.
Imagine me seeing this, you know, in 1960, when it was out, 68, 69. And it's everything I wanted to see, you know, a political movie. And it still retained a lot of the spirit of the French New Wave in the cinematography, the way they tell stories, the cut-up. And it shows that politicians are corrupt, that the heroes in the world are not perfect people. The Yves Montand character is a flawed person, but he's a charismatic leader like JFK. And they do it with tremendous pace. They do it by flashbacks, but very quick flashbacks. And the camera just picks people walking into a scene. It's almost a bit like Orson Welles and some of its in Touch of Evil, some of the cinematography.
One of the really fascinating things to switch from the beginning of the film towards the end of the film. This doesn't really give anything away particularly, but it perhaps says something about the way in which the colonels in Greece saw their kind of moral purpose, if you like. So there's a whole list of people and things at the end which are banned, which includes the Beatles and other modern and popular music.
The chilling part of the film, to me, if you really buy into it, it's not the perfect movie. You know, there are great, fantastic movies, so many that I'd like to have chosen. But if you buy into the concept, the final statement is really chilling. And I watched it the other week, and it still resonates with me, that final saying. They banned the letter Z, which means he is alive.
I mean, I thought it was also interesting that they banned some other really interesting things, including sociology. I think the jury's out about whether sociology should be banned here. But and long hair on men, which you must have taken as a personal affront.
No, I was with the generals on that one. And also, if you look early on in the film, there's it's anti-American as well, some of the politics of it. So, you know,
I mean, did you feel it changed anything for you and the people who were around you? Because Costa-Gavras, the director of the film, says it changed very little actually in Greece, and it only changed things in the sort of immediate political environment around him, in the sense that it made people more aware of the situation in Greece, but it didn't actually change things. Did it change things for you?
It couldn't change
you
that
thought
much.
Politically, though?
Well, events, I think, took place a year or so before, so I couldn't change those events. But it changed my attitude towards the use of film being political. I remember in America they wanted to retitle it as Z, Z-E-E, I think, because they didn't understand the concept. Also, it affected me because shortly after I saw that film, about 2 or 3 years after, I wrote my own political musical called Preservation, and maybe it would not have been possible to actually started that project without.
Yeah, because I wanted to ask you whether or not the film and actually political thrillers like Z had somehow influenced your writing. Can you just go back to the kind of moment, in the sense when you were, what were you writing at that point? When you saw the film, what were you working on?
Well, at the time that film came out, I was banned from touring America. We had a union ban that lasted for 4 years. So I was feeling a bit anti-American myself.
Understandable.
What did it do for me? It just made me realise that, that it maybe didn't change things in Greece, but I think it changed a lot of people's attitude in America. Remember, it was predated Oliver Stone and all those very self-conscious political films that Robert Redford was involved with in the 70s. So it opened the doors for a lot of movies, that style.
I mean, it was clearly a trailblazer in the sense that it was the first, I think, won 2 Academy Awards. It was the first non-English language film to win the New York Critics Circle Award, which is kind of big, particularly then, was a very big award. And actually, the whole bunch of non-English language films then won.
It's the sort of film that I don't care if it wins awards. It moves me, and I don't care if it's a flaw. There are some dead spots in the movie, that get involved in characterizations, maybe to lighten it up a bit. And the Irene Pappas role is incredible. She hardly says a word, but to me she steals the movie. Dignified presence. Again, a nod to Jackie Onassis, or Jackie Kennedy, she was in.
Can you say something about the music in the film as well? Because I think the music, it adds an incredible...
Well, it had also Mikis Theodorakis, who wrote Zorba the Greek, was in prison in Greece and tortured. And I